It was supposed to be the ultimate adventure, a mission to visit the world's most famous shipwreck. But instead, it became a tragic cautionary tale, one that weirdly echoes the very story it was trying to explore. So today, we're going to break down exactly what happened, and more importantly, why.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's the morning of June 18th, 2023. At 9:30 a.m., the Titan starts its 2.5-hour journey down. But less than 2 hours in, silence. Communication is just gone. By 4:30 that afternoon, when it was supposed to pop back up to the surface, there was nothing. The alert went out. The Titan was officially missing.
And what followed was this massive international search. You probably remember it. The whole world was glued to the news, holding its breath, and asking the exact same question. What happened to the Titan and the 5 people on board? To really get to the bottom of what went wrong, you first have to understand the vessel itself and the absolutely insane environment it was heading into. Now, first things first, and this is a really important point, the Titan wasn't actually a submarine, it was a submersible. What's the difference? Well, a submarine can leave a port, go do its thing, and come back all on its own. A submersible, though, is completely dependent on a mothership. It needs help to launch, and it needs help to be recovered. It has almost no power or autonomy on its own. And its destination? 3,810 meters. That's almost 4 kilometers, or 12,500 feet, straight down into the cold, dark Atlantic. Just straight down into the abyss.
Let's try to wrap our heads around how incredibly deep that is. A recreational scuba diver, they're told to stop at 40 meters. At 200 meters, you hit the twilight zone, and sunlight starts to disappear. By 1,000 meters, you're in the midnight zone. We're talking total, absolute darkness. The Titanic is nearly 4 times deeper than that. It's basically another planet down there. And on that alien planet, the water pressure is just crushing. It's nearly 400 times greater than what you and I are feeling right now. It's an environment that is constantly and relentlessly trying to squeeze anything that enters it into nothing. So this brings us to the warnings. Because, see, the Titan wasn't just diving into the physical void of the deep ocean. It was kind of operating in a void of its own, with a design that had people raising red flags long before this final tragic dive. The sub itself was, well, a collection of really unconventional choices. It had this hybrid carbon fiber and titanium hull, a huge viewport, the biggest of its kind, and yeah, it was famously piloted with a video game controller. But maybe the most terrifying detail, the passengers were bolted in from the outside. There was no way for them to open the hatch themselves. But at the very core of the design was its biggest gamble, that carbon fiber hull. You see, deep-sea vessels are usually made of solid steel or titanium, materials we know can handle that crushing pressure. Carbon fiber? It was an experiment, and it was largely unproven for the repeated stress of dive after dive to those kinds of depths. And this whole experimental approach, it came straight from the top. The company's CEO, Stockton Rush, who was actually piloting the sub that day, had a very clear philosophy. He publicly said that an obsession with safety just gets in the way of innovation. He didn't just bend the rules, he was proud of breaking them. He literally said, quote, "I've broken some rules to make this." He truly believed that his own engineering logic was better than the safety standards that had been built up over decades of deep-sea exploration. And people noticed. Boy, did they notice. Back in 2018, OceanGate's own director of marine operations flagged major safety issues, and he was promptly fired for it. In that same year, 36 of the top experts in the field, explorers, scientists, engineers, sent a letter directly to Rush warning him that his experimental approach could lead to catastrophic results. The warnings were crystal clear, and they were ignored. So you have this trail of ignored warnings, this experimental vessel, and now we go back to the search and the awful certainty of what happened in the Titan's last moments. The search was just immense, a huge international effort covering an area of the ocean twice the size of Connecticut. But as that 96-hour clock for their oxygen supply just kept ticking and ticking and ticking down, there was only silence from the deep. And then on day 4, a deep-sea robot made a discovery. It found a debris field just a short distance from the Titanic's bow. It wasn't the sub they found. It was what was left of it. And it confirmed everyone's worst fears. All the evidence pointed to one horrifying conclusion. A catastrophic implosion. That immense, relentless pressure of the ocean had finally found a weakness in the hull, causing the entire vessel to violently collapse inward on itself.
Now, it's important to understand this is the violent opposite of an explosion. Instead of pressure bursting out, it's the weight of the entire ocean above it crushing in, and the speed is just mind-boggling. The whole thing happens in less than a single millisecond. It was over faster than the human brain can even process a thought.
So, what's the lesson here? When all the dust settles, what is the fatal echo that the Titan tragedy leaves behind?
At the end of the day, that carbon fiber hull didn't just fail on its own. Its failure was a symptom of a much deeper human failure. It was the direct result of a mindset that saw safety regulations not as guardrails, but as speed bumps on the road to innovation. And this is the part that is just so stunningly, tragically ironic. The story of the Titanic is a mirror image of the very shipwreck it was going to see. The hubris that led people to call the Titanic unsinkable is the exact same hubris that led someone to believe they could break the rules of deep-sea safety. It's the same story, just 111 years apart. And this whole tragedy leaves us with one huge question, right? A question that goes way beyond just this one submersible. In our push to explore, to innovate, to go further than ever before, how do we know when we're pushing the boundaries and when we're just being reckless? The story of the Titan is a haunting and very permanent reminder of just how thin that line can be.